Yo, guys, what is going on? Welcome back to the Locker Room. We have another good episode for you today as we just had all of our wild card matchups in the NFL. It is now divisional round week as we are coming upon getting closer and closer to the grand prize of the Super Bowl. We'll see what teams will make it, and basically in this episode today, we're going to be going over all four games last week, and then I'll be giving you my updated predictions based on what I think will happen this week, because I did have some changes in my bracket due to some teams losing. Raiders. But that's basically what we'll be doing this episode. Basically a playoff preview-ish, prediction-ish again. So that's what we'll be doing. So we'll be going through each game because there was some controversy in all three of the games. Or all two of the games, excuse me. But it should be fun. So we're going to get right into this, actually. We're going to start off with the devastating Las Vegas Raiders game versus the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals did come out on top 26-19. It came down to the last play. And I'm just going to say, on both sides, this officiating crew was a complete mess on both sides. So I'm not blaming the refs for the Raiders' loss. I'm not doing that at all. But the officiating crew was a complete mess on both sides. I'm pretty sure all Bengals fans can agree and all Raiders fans can agree. There were some bad calls, and it is good that the NFL is putting a punishment on this officiating crew where they will not be able to officiate another playoff game this year, which is the perfect punishment because they couldn't even speak to the microphone when they were given a penalty. I mean, that's just how bad it was in this Raiders game, the officiating. And people are saying there was bad officiating in the Dallas game. We'll get to that later. So maybe it's just bad officiating all around the NFL. But I'll get to my thoughts on that in a little bit. So we start off with the Raiders game. The Bengals went up 7-3 early. There was another turnover. The Raiders defense held them to get to 13. And then they got up and they got to, I believe it was 21-13 at half or something like that. And then Bengals started off the ball. Raiders got the ball back, forcing a stop they got a field goal, forcing a stop. Raiders drove down. They got a field goal. And here's where the controversy starts. It actually happened back in the first half on one of the Bengals touchdowns where Joe Burrow, you all probably know the story, Joe Burrow rolled out to the right. Looks like he stepped out of bounds. The whistle is blown. He throws it to Tyler Boyd at the end zone for the touchdown. But the whistle was blown before the refs. The whistle was blown before Tyler Boyd caught the pass. So, therefore, in the NFL rulebook, the play should be called dead. Although, the refs huddled up and said, it's a touchdown. They called it a touchdown. So, they went to review it. And therefore, Joe Burrow did make an amazing play. He did not step out. It was a phenomenal play. But the thing is, a ref blew the whistle that Joe Burrow stepped out of bounds, so therefore the play should be dead. That was the first controversy. Another controversy was later in the game. This is probably an underrated controversy, in my opinion. Hunter Renfrow, it's like a 20-yard pass on a 3rd and 8. Derek Carr throws it. Hunter Renfrow catches it, takes one step, takes 3. I'll put the clip up because he does take 3, in my opinion. I'll try to put the clip in here. It looks like he takes 3 steps. They call it a catch and a fumble originally on the field. They overturned the call, which I think was a huge missed call. Hunter Renfrow, I think, clearly had 3 feet in bounds. I'll try to put up the clip for you guys, but I think he clearly had 3 feet in bounds. They called it incomplete. The Raiders either had to kick a field goal or punt. And then the Raiders shot themselves in the foot the rest of the game. What happened was that entire game, they had 5 red zone opportunities, only scored 1 time, which is completely unacceptable. If they score one more time, they score 2 out of 5 times in the red zone, then all you have to do is, it's a 3-point game when you're driving down the field, as they did. They drove down the field, got down to the 9. That's a chip shot field goal. We can go into overtime, keep our chances alive. But instead, we have to go to the red zone once again with Greg Olsen, trying to score a touchdown. And this is why Greg Olsen is no longer the Raiders' offensive coordinator. Because he is a terrible offensive coordinator. Because it is about time that man went. His red zone play calling is god-awful. I mean, it is terrible. Like 8 terribles. He gets nervous in the red zone, and I don't know why. I wanted Derek Carr to take over and start calling the plays. Because when Derek Carr starts to audible in our no huddle, we start to get things going and we do things good. We call the right plays. But Greg Olsen in the red zone is god-awful, and he is the number one reason who I blame for this Raiders loss. Because you cannot have 5 red zone opportunities and only score one time. It's not acceptable. Daniel Carlson, I'm sure, loves it. Besides the loss, he gets to kick 5 field goals a game. This is not just happening in the Bengals game. There's many losses that we have had due to not being able to capitalize in the red zone when it matters. Back in the first Bengals game, we get a fumble right away off Joe Burrow. We take it down about the 2-yard line, chip shot field goal. That cannot happen. Cannot happen. You need to punch it in when you have the chance, and you need to make sure you capitalize on your opportunities. The Raiders did not do that. So that is why they lost the football game. The Bengals played better football the first half. The Raiders outplayed them in the second half, but they just could not finish it. And that's the ultimate reason why the Bengals could win, because they could finish drives, they could put it in the end zone, and more importantly, they could stop us in the red zone on defense. So that's my opinion on the Raiders game and the controversy. And then we went over to Buffalo, I believe. They were playing in Buffalo. Buffalo's 3 seed, Patriots 6. I had the Patriots winning this game, and God, boy, was I wrong. I thought that Patriots running game could absolutely dominate the Bills like they did in previous past. But my cousin, Mike Mitchelson, on the WMP podcast, he told me Mac Jones is going to need to throw. Mac Jones didn't need to throw, and he did not look good. Mac Jones needing to throw is a big step if you want to put this Patriots team into the playoff. If they wanted to go farther in the playoffs, I thought they could get it done. Clearly show me wrong that Mac Jones could not get it done in the playoffs. They lost like 40-7, I believe. And then fans threw something on the field that it's a little too graphic for me to show a picture or explain it. So we'll just say a Patriots mouth guard fell off. That's all we'll say. So the Patriots got absolutely crumbled by the Bills. Josh Allen looked unstoppable, and that game is probably the biggest impact it had on my bracket, because I didn't have the Bills going far. I had them losing the game, and I had the Patriots going to the AFC Championship. And now seeing how the Bills played, I have a much more confidence in the Bills going forward in the 2020 NFL playoffs. So that's going to shake up my bracket a lot. I didn't really watch the game. I know I host a podcast, and I didn't even watch the game, but I was just so devastated by the Raiders' loss. And I just got on the Xbox and started playing games, and it hurt to watch football the rest of that night, because knowing that the Raiders season was over, it was just way too hard to manage. And that's why I didn't watch it. I watched some of it, but all I know is it wasn't a good game, and I just know that Buffalo blew them out. That's all I really needed to know, is that Buffalo is here, and Buffalo is here to continue. So, Buffalo, huge props to you in beating the Patriots and Bill Belichick. That is a huge accomplishment in Josh Allen's career. Maybe Sean McDermott's one of his biggest wins in his career. Let's see if they can get it done against Kansas City. I will get to my thoughts on that later. And then we moved over to Philadelphia versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at Raymond James Stadium. And the Eagles did not show up to play at all. Bucs absolutely dominated, as the Eagles scored most of their touchdowns in garbage time trying to get the dub, but just couldn't pull it off. I'm a big believer in Jalen Hurts, as Howie Roseman did say that he is going to be their quarterback of the future. I like that. I love Jalen Hurts. I think he's a good NFL quarterback and a winnable NFL quarterback. He is one of the biggest reasons why I believe that they made it to the playoffs. And I didn't even realize how Nick Sirianni made it to the playoffs. I don't know if it's him, but he definitely deserves some credit for that Eagles offense, and partially even the defense for getting them into the playoffs, because most people had them going 4-12, 5-11. I mean, it was looking rough. Or excuse me, not 5-11, right? No, not 5-12. Excuse me, and 4-13. So yeah. Most people did not have them going far at all, but Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts surprised everyone, so they had a great season. Just couldn't get it done against the best quarterback and possibly the best sports player of all time which is completely understandable. So Buccaneers dominated that game. Tom Brady was on his money. And more importantly, Giovanni Bernard had a really impressive game, which really surprised me without Leonard Fournette, because it shows that this Tampa Bay team can do it without Leonard Fournette and out these weapons. So let's see what they can do against LA this week, because that's going to be a big test. Because if they win against LA, I think it's game over. I think that the Tampa Bay is going to win the Super Bowl. They're still in my Super Bowl bracket. They are still the people I think that will win the Super Bowl. So I do think that Tampa Bay has a very, very good chance to make it far. And I just think that this dominating performance against the Eagles only makes my case stronger against all the other teams in the NFL compared to Tampa Bay. So that was not the most exciting game. That was probably the most boring game besides one other game in the playoffs this week. And then we moved to probably the most intense, criticized, and everything was just criticized about this game, up to the coaching, to the reffing, to the play calling, to almost everything. I'll go through this one a little bit more in depth, as it was the Cowboys versus the 49ers at the AT&T Stadium in Dallas, Texas. So the Cowboys did not look good to start the game. Comment down below. I really want to know. What'd you guys watch this on? If you didn't watch on Nickelodeon, what you doing? Nickelodeon's awesome. You gotta watch on Nickelodeon. But anyway, San Fran was pretty much controlling this entire game, as Dallas came back at the end a little bit, and they gave themselves a chance. But overall, San Fran dominated this game. And more importantly, not even San Fran, Deebo Samuel dominated this game, as you saw in his interview with young Dylan. Deebo do it all Samuel, because Deebo really can't do it all. He is such a special player. That was an absolute steal in the 2019 draft for the 49ers. So that was a huge pickup. And Deebo Samuel is probably the biggest reason that the 49ers won that game, because Jimmy G didn't play great. The offensive line played pretty decent, and the receivers played all right. But overall, if your quarterback's not playing good, how are your receivers playing good? Because Deebo Samuel, what is he? Is he a running back or receiver? Because he's like getting more rushes than catches. It's crazy. Deebo Samuel has been playing out of his mind. And as I predicted in this game, I thought the 49ers were going to win. And sure enough, they did, as Dak Prescott and that offense could not get things going against that strong San Francisco defense. And the defense did a pretty decent job overall, but did give up 23 points on the board. It's not that much points, but it's still a lot. It's still points. And you can't give up points if your offense is not going to score. So that's really the big reason why they lost, because of their offense. But we'll get into the controversy of this game, as we are going into the final drive for the Cowboys, and they start off with an amazing play call to start. A phenomenal play call, in my opinion. Dak Prescott drops back, throws it to one of the Cowboys receivers, and he comes back and tosses it to CeeDee Lamb, who gets around the edge and gets another 20 yards and gets them to about the 50-yard line, I believe. So that was a really big game for the Cowboys. And then they split out Tony Pollard to the left side, threw a little dump over pass to him. He gets about 10 yards and gets out of bounds, which is another huge one. Then Dalton Schultz got there. They're about at the 15-yard line. And Jack drops back, sees an opening in the middle of the field. There's about 14 seconds on the clock. Takes a rush up the middle, gets about 20 yards, slides. And here's where the controversy happens. As he slides, and the clock's still running, and they go to set the ball. And the ref, quote marks here, gets in Dak's and the center's way. And they didn't get the snap off, so they called the play dead, where they lost. And all the controversy going around on Twitter everywhere is saying how the refs got in Dak's way. Oh, what are they doing? Don't blame the refs on this one. Please do not. I completely, on this play, blame Mike McCarthy for drawing up that play, Dak Prescott in the center for the Dallas Cowboys, because terrible play call to start off. And Dak needs to say something. Why are we running a QB draw? Maybe that wasn't the play. Maybe Dak saw something, but it gained 20 yards, but you need to get out of bounds. So that's the number one reason. Why are we calling a QB draw? And then, so you do call the QB draw, you go and you need to spike it. And this is where I blame Dak and the Cowboys center. You need to wait for the ball. You need to wait for the ref to get to you to handle the ball. Because no matter what, if you set the ball, it doesn't matter. You can't snap. You have to wait for the ref to set the ball. And all you did, by getting in the ref's way and putting the ball already down, you have run into the ref, not only costing you more seconds, and then the ref has to get around and spot the ball, which costs you even more seconds, and you only had seconds left, which is why you lost the game. You cannot blame this on the refs. This is on Dallas itself, more importantly on Mike McCarthy, and more importantly on the center and the Dak Prescott for not letting the ref set the ball and them getting in the ref's way. The ref did not get in their way. They got in the ref's way. So stop hating all these refs on that Dallas Cowboys game because it was not their fault. That is Dak Prescott and the center. You know that the ref has to set the ball before you can snap it, and you got in his way. That is why you lost the game. So do not go and blame the refs. Quote me on this. It is Dak's fault. It's not the refs. Dak got in the ref's way. That is all that needs to be said. I'll throw the clip up there. It is clear that the ref did not get in his way, and Dak got in the ref's way because it is written in the rule book. The ref has to set the ball before every play. Dak and the center did not allow them to do that, which is why they lost the game. Woo, big rant there. So, as the Cowboys get sent home, and all these Cowboys fans were so sad, Trent Williams going crazy on them. We had another game that night, which was Ben Roethlisberger's most likely last game, as they got absolutely destroyed in the wild card on Sunday night, which looked like it was going to be a good game. I'm not going to lie. 2 early turnovers for Pittsburgh. They did capitalize on one and scored a touchdown at 7-7. But after that 7-7, Kansas City absolutely took the lead, took the ball away, and took the hopes out of the Steelers. Good game by both teams. I mean, the Steelers had no confidence, which I kind of blame Big Ben for, saying, we have no chance and we're not going to win. That's exactly what happened. And they came out and they got their butts kicked. Not exactly the way you want to go out if you are Big Ben or the Steelers in general. And an interesting thing that I was looking at today is Mike Tomlin is the second favorite to become the Raiders' next head coach, which I think is completely false. Like, how is Mike Tomlin the second favorite in odds to become the Raiders' head coach? That just doesn't make sense to me. But maybe there's some talk. We don't know. And so Big Ben, most likely his last game. Not a great one. Sure, you got to make the playoffs for your last game, but you absolutely get destroyed. But overall, I just want to thank Big Ben for if he does retire, for the career that he gave and the big impact that he had changing football in general, because without him, football might not be the game that we have today, and we just all have to think of that and be very supportive of his decision. And don't hate him if you're another Ravens fan or anything like that. If you're a Bengals fan, Mike Mitchelson, do not hate on him. He has changed the game of football, and we might not even be where we are today with this sport if it weren't for Big Ben. So we got to give a big tribute to him and his career because he has had a big impact on the game. So thank you, Big Ben. And then Patrick Mahomes played out of his mind. This game was kind of Big Ben passing the torch to Patrick Mahomes for the future of the NFL because Patrick Mahomes threw for 404, 5 touchdowns. Great game. Kelsey had a great game. The whole Steelers basically had a great game. They had a dominating rushing offense. They had a dominating passing offense, and they were able to stop the Steelers when it mattered most. So that is why they came out on top. And then the next game was not necessarily exciting either, as Cardinals versus Rams. I saw this from a mile away, not looking like a good game because Kyler Murray and the Cardinals started 7-0, 8-0. Then they went 4-7, including their playoff loss, which is not ideal because you got destroyed by the Rams. This Cardinals team just fell apart. They did not look like the Cardinals team that we knew before. So that is just not good in any which way. They did not look impressive at all. And who are we to blame? Is it Kyler Murray? Is it the offensive line? Is it the defense? Or more importantly, is it Cliff Kingsbury? Does Cliff Kingsbury needs to go? He led them to a 7-0, but he cannot get the job done. Is that a hot take to say that Cliff Kingsbury is on the hot seat? Because his team absolutely fell apart in the second half of the season. Their morale went straight down after that Packers game, and they were not recovered, obviously. But Cliff Kingsbury, I think, is a good coach, but it is not a stretch to say that he might be on the hot seat soon. And if he does not have an impressive next year, then he could be gone. So Cliff Kingsbury, maybe on the hot seat. Is he not? You let me know down in the comments. So Matthew Stafford getting his first playoff win in one season with the Rams, 0 with 13 seasons with the Lions, but first year with the Rams, bang, already a playoff win.